All right. Hey, welcome everybody. It's Rob here with our Publish, Promote, Profit podcast. And I have a great guest, somebody that I've known for a while, but is doing something, some amazing things in the book business. Margie Shard, I guess, is a former certified financial planner. You still have the licenses.
I do.
But that's how we knew each other. We helped Margie with her financial advice book that did very, very well. But now Margie is a fiction author and one of the most read fiction authors in the United States and a number of other countries, and is doing 7 figures a year in royalty income, selling books, audiobooks, etc. And so we're going to dive deep, with your permission, Margie, into all that you're doing, how you're doing it, and how others can potentially model your success and your work ethic, because you are a hard worker. I know we had this long conversation before we started recording about passive income, and you work your butt off. So it's not like it's passive in that regard, but it is royalty income, which is super intriguing. So thank you for being on the podcast and on the training, and also thank you for agreeing to come and speak to your fellow BSP authors in our next client only meeting in February. So that's going to be fun.
Well, thank you for having me. And that sounds, I'm up for it. So let's do it for sure.
Awesome.
And St. Augustine is always a great place to go. Anyways.
Yeah, you'll love it. We'll put you up in a great spot, and you can enjoy the town. So
awesome.
So let's just take a short bit, if we could, and talk a little bit about your financial advice book. That's when we met. It was a number of years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. We helped you launch that book.
I think it was longer.
Maybe it was longer ago.
I think it was in 2015.
That sounds right.
I want to say it was
a long time
2015.
ago.
Yeah.
Awesome. And you told me you've used that book to do very, very well, maybe somewhere in the range of $500,000 in income. Can you talk a little bit about how you use that book successfully? Because it's a very different model with nonfiction than it is, of course, with fiction. So let's talk briefly about your financial advice business and that, and then we'll move into what Margie is doing now, which is so cool.
Okay. So when I did my financial book, I had zero clue what I was doing. I remember I wrote this book. I kept thinking, I should write a financial book. I should write a financial book. And I actually did it one day. I knew nothing about editing. I knew nothing about, I knew nothing. There's different editors that you should use. I had no idea. I paid way too much for an editor and didn't really understand what I was getting.
Right.
Ended up having multiple, there's probably still errors in the book. The book's outdated, by the way. Don't go buy it. I've taken it off Amazon, but it seems to still be lingering there. I don't know why. But for me, when I did the book, I wasn't focusing on sales. Rob, you had promised, I'll get you the bestseller status. And so you did that. You followed through on your promise. We followed everything you said and did it. And I remember the day that the nice, pretty glass, what do you want to call it? Plaque came. Yeah. I think I still have it. I think I threw, when I sold my financial firm, of course I had a wall of like awards and I think I had thrown everything out, except I think I still have that, to be honest.
Oh, cool.
But anyway, so for me, I bought tons of copies of my book. I gave it to anybody that would allow me to give it to them.
Right.
And I don't think that clients actually read the book. I mean, I was giving it to clients and then telling them to pass it on to their friends. And I was getting more money from clients, just because I handed them this book and they were, using it to bring their friends over who they've been talking to me about. Yeah. And any prospect that came in, I had a folder and the book was always in the folder.
Yeah.
And so I sold my firm. I sold my firm almost a year to the date that I actually had published my financial book.
Wow, no kidding. So that long ago.
Yeah. So I think I had within that year brought in about $500,000 of gross income from new assets. And again, I don't think people read the book.
Yeah.
I think it's really important when you decide to do nonfiction that you understand that very rarely, unless you're very, very, very famous, you are not going to make money on your book. You are going to spend money on that book.
Right.
Let me rephrase that. Not that you're not going to make money, but you are not going to make money on book sales.
On the royalties.
Who cares to buy your book? This is like your like pet project. You're excited about it. You're trying to get a message out to the world. And most people really don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you use it correctly and you use it to market yourself as that expert in your community, that's where the profits lie. And that's what I did, and it was the best marketing tool I ever could have used. I mean, like I said, I don't think people read it. So,
Yeah.
but it worked, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It positions you as the authority.
Yes.
And you might be surprised how many people actually do read it. Maybe not the entire thing, but they find something within the book that they kind of feel like fits their circumstance, right?
Yes.
And
I think too, audio is good. I know I know now with your clients, you're talking to them about audio, and that was really new. It was kind of newer, I think, when I was going through this in 2015 with you. But I think audio is I only got into audio last year with my fiction books, and I didn't realize how huge of a listener market there is. Yeah. And I know a lot of my nonfiction books, I listen instead of read. So I think that helps. But also, if you're looking to get, I was getting speaking engagements because of my book. Anytime you can get on, in front of people to speak and be that authority, it just adds that credibility. So if you're a professional, and you're going to have a book, I always tell people, you've got to have a marketing plan behind that. And it typically does not involve selling copies.
Right. Yeah.
It's about how many are you going to give away?
Yeah, exactly. I love that. Very clear, very concise. It's easy with nonfiction.
Yeah, Rob, I had a huge launch party in my community when I launched, and I invited anybody I knew, clients. I had them bring people. And again, I was signing, everybody thought it was so cool. I'm signing my books, and again, I gave, and people came, they were ready to pay that day. And I wouldn't take their money. I was like, nope, here's one for you, and give this to a friend. And they did. So
love it. Did you, that is very interesting. And I want to talk about that for just a second, because I think that's a great idea. And I don't think people use it as much, especially if you're in a business that has a local element to it. Right. Mm-hmm. Were you able to track anything from that launch event as far as in the next month, were there 3, 4, 5 that you can remember that actually came from that and said, hey, I need help. I need to get started with you?
I had an amazing team in my firm. I really did. I had the dream team of all teams. I'm still very good friends with the people that I had the honor of working with. And they were there ready with my schedule. Yeah. They were setting appointments at that meeting, or at that launch event. And from there were people coming in with their folders, and they had my book, and, they were pulling it out and talking, and, prospects. And I know, sitting down with prospects that maybe weren't at that event, but, I'd given them a folder of all the information I normally would. And also, now that book was in there, they were just, the amount of times I heard people say, oh my gosh, you wrote a book, and it just made that sales process so much faster, because in the financial world, it can take several appointments before people are either ready to move over, or
trust,
or the money's ready to move over. But so it made that relationship work a lot faster. And it wasn't just in Michigan. I had a pocket of clients down in Florida, and that grew really fast. I sent them books. I sent them extra books. People were, when I went down to visit them, oh, you're the girl that wrote the book. Yes, we need to talk, so it was good. It was good all around.
I love it. Congratulations. Obviously, congratulations for that.
And thank you for everything you did to help me with that, because like I said, I knew nothing about even publishing. And that was my first experience into not only writing a book, but actually having to get it out there into the world. And your program's so great, because it really helps, especially busy financials. I was running a very successful financial firm, and, hundreds of clients and a team of amazing people, like I said, that I got to work with. However, having your program and now the step-by-step of, okay, this is what you need to do, and now you got to do this, and being able to say, okay, I'm totally lost on this. What do I do here? Or my staff was able to contact you guys.
Yeah, they were great.
So you guys are top notch. And, for any professional that's out there, they really should consider your program and really do what follow the program. Like you have it down to a science. There's a reason you're still in business. Like I said, I was 2015, you're still in business, which says a lot. I will say that for online businesses,
true.
You're still in business. And that says a lot because, to withstand the time and more people trying to come in and do what you're doing. And again, you've stayed, you know what you're doing. So
we've seen a lot of them come and go over those,
I'm sure
over the last 11 years.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for your kind words.
Yeah.
And, I am just super intrigued by what you're doing. When I heard, I was like, I was so like encouraged, and I'm like, I know the nonfiction market forwards and backwards. To me, making money with a nonfiction book is easy. It's like falling out of bed. I mean, it's because you're using it in conjunction with a high ticket offer, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a realtor, as a financial advisor, as a coach, a consultant, a doctor, a dentist. In your case, you're doing something, and I want to hit on that. You're doing something that is like a mystery to me.
Totally different.
And it's so cool. I mean, you're doing, if I can say, you're doing 6 figures a month in royalties. You're doing 7 figures a year, last year, this year. Now you're just doing audiobooks, which who knows what that's going to lead to. That could very easily double your revenue. How many books now have you done as one of the most read authors in the United States in fiction, in romance?
So I'm just going to clarify something. I'm one of the most read authors in the Kindle Unlimited program, which,
gotcha.
So just to clarify that, I don't know where I stand on, there's authors in Kindle Unlimited, and then there's wide, which means I could have my digital book on different platforms.
Right.
I'm exclusive to Kindle Unlimited, and, 70-80% of my revenue comes from there, and I get paid. Somebody has to download my book and actually read it. So I get paid per page read.
And you have millions of page reads every month.
Every month. Yeah. Which I remember the first time I hit 1 million a month, I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Because I've only been publishing for 3 years. So this month is 3 years I've been publishing. I started writing 4 years ago this month.
Wow.
And I really, but for 2.5 years, and I do not recommend people do this. I literally, and you can ask my ex-husband this, he will tell you this. For the first 2.5 years, from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed, I was writing. Or the first year I had a full list of, I was doing sales funnels online between the time I sold my firm and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I was doing, and very successful with this. And again, high ticket, clients with, working with financial advisors and some other people on online sales funnels. So I had a full client load when I started writing. So I was just working 7 days a week. And because I wanted to build this, and then slowly started, I would stop taking on new clients after the first year of writing, when I decided to start publishing, and just finished up those contracts I had, and knew that this was what I wanted to do.
Right.
But what was your question? I've got
there's a couple questions and we're leading into it. So number one, how many books have you done?
Okay.
In fiction at this point?
I'm currently writing my 43rd book, about halfway through it.
Awesome. Yeah. So 43 books. One of the things that I tell anybody that talks about doing a children's book or a fiction book is that the key to royalties, because the royalties are so small relative to selling something high ticket, is you need volumes of content and material. And of course, there has to be a process. So, and it builds, right? I mean, the more you have, they find your stuff, they go back, they read your other stuff, they fall in love with you, your platform grows, etc. Talk to me about, only 3 years of doing this, and now 7 figures in royalty income is amazing. When I said you're one of the top read authors in the United States, I still believe that's true. What percentage of authors are making $1 million a year on royalties? It's got to be a fraction of 1%. A fraction.
That's my gross. Just to clarify too, I have a lot of expenses. So just to clarify, that's gross. That's not actually my bank account. Like it's not. I mean, it comes in my bank account, but there's a lot that goes out. So just to clarify that.
It's gross royalties. It's the
I don't,
amount of royalties. Yeah. I mean,
I don't
that's
know.
still okay.
Yeah. No, and I'm happy with it. Don't get me wrong.
No kidding.
It's actually this year surpassed my financial. I was 16 years in the financial firm, and the last 10 I had my actual own firm. And I've this year surpassed gross wise what I did with my financial firm, which is kind of mind blowing.
3 years.
So,
wow.
So I it's you're exactly right. Your new material, your new books brings life. It keeps the blood flowing throughout your whole business. So we were talking about this before, passive income. Yes, I have passive income on there's stuff that I wrote. My first book I ever wrote, I make money on that every day. So yes, I make money on the things that I've done, but I also, and now I'm able to put those into different translations. So I have a German translation team, and I have no clue when it comes over what it says, but I have a wonderful team that I put together. I have a French translation team now, which, and the only way I can go on it really is my reviews are like this. I have pretty much 4.5-star ratings on all my books, and the same in German and the same in French. So I know the translation team is good. I sold some in Hebrew, some rights away just because I didn't want to put my own team together, and they had come in and talk to me. And so there were 3 books that I had given them, where
sold the rights to.
They'll come back and get the rest of the series if it does well. But so, and then of course I added audio in April of 21. So but not everything is on audio either. So there's a lot of ways once you write something, there's movies and Netflix series and things like that too that I can go after that I haven't even tapped into. So so yes, the residual is nice, the passive, so to speak, but I'm always working in that new material, definitely, because if you find a new reader, they will go back and read everything that, they'll read your entire backlist and then say, why don't you have more? It's like, well, I can only write so fast.
Well, and your revenue is growing. You shared with me, you've done 43 books in 3 years, but this year it's going to be 7, right?
I released, this year I released 7 books, and I decided next year I'm going to release 7 as well. So I have spin-off series so I have a pen name, just so you guys know that are listening. I have a pen name, and I really don't share it with a lot of people unless you're super close to me.
Totally fine.
And I write it in the romance genre, but I have series, and I tend to spin them out. And so I have another spin-off series coming of 4 books, which we'll see that probably will get expanded past 4 books, but we'll see what happens. And then I have a duet, which is my first duet ever. That's what I'm finishing right now. That'll come out in February, March. And that's 2 books about one couple. And again, I haven't done that yet. And then I'll go into the spin-off series because I kind of needed a break. I needed to cleanse my palate a little bit. I had a holiday book release yesterday. So I just needed kind of like a palate cleanse because I read a lot of mafia and other things. And so, yeah.
Well, here's the reason I mentioned the 7 books is because you obviously worked much harder producing content year 1, year 2.
Yes.
All right. And now we're starting year 4. We're through year 3. You're done 7 books. You're going to do 7 books next year, but your income rose 30% over last year. So even though you're not necessarily creating 30% more books every single year, right? Your income is still rising considerably because those new readers are finding your old books, and it continues to build. Can you talk about that for
Sure.
a few moments?
Sure. So one of the biggest thing I concentrated really hard last year, and this is something that you should be doing whether you're fiction or nonfiction, but I really got serious about growing my newsletter. So I think I've got about 40,000 subs now, 44,000, something like that. I got serious about making sure I had content every week going out and utilizing that newsletter. Obviously I have a big presence on social media as well, but I added audio. That was another revenue stream, although it costs a lot of money because every time I put a book out, it's about $5,000, depending on, but I chose my narrators very closely. or, I specifically went for narrators that have followings in my genre, because listeners will buy a book because of a narrator. They just
Good
will.
point. Yeah.
So I started building that. And then I started going into translation. So French just started a few months ago. German, I started last year. And really that all, even though every time I translate a book, it's another it seems like everything's $5,000, $5,000 to go into German, $5,000 to go into French, $5,000 to go into, but so now it's looking at those other streams. I also just started putting books. So I can't have my books anywhere digitally besides Kindle Unlimited. However, I can have my paperbacks other places. And I finally started uploading my paperbacks, and I have more that I have to get done. My assistant's been working on it, but I've been putting the books on Ingram Sparks, which is another way to distribute paperbacks besides just Amazon. And I got over $1,000 in royalties last month. And I'm like, oh, this does work. Okay.
Maybe I should have done that before.
Right. I mean, hello, stupid here. And I know there's more, like German has some other sites. I know, I forget what it's called, Helino or something. There's so many different ways. So I think for me at this point, besides continuing to create new stories that my readers, it's building this readership. So when they pick up my book, there's an expectation there of what they're going to get. And I have to deliver that as the author every time in order to not lose that reader, in order to keep them really wanting, my next book. And so, and I'll tell you this, there's crap that happens, not this past release yesterday, but the release before, I had over 3,000 pre-orders, which was about $15,000 of revenue, and Amazon just canceled all my orders. They canceled all my orders. Even though I had uploaded the manuscript, they said I hadn't uploaded the manuscript. I sent them the emails showing them and the screenshots showing them I had done everything. And their response was, well, I'm sorry, but we already canceled the orders. We can't go back and charge people now.
Oh my gosh.
And I had built those pre-order, because there are readers that pre-order. There are readers that are only KU, Kindle Unlimited, and then there's readers that buy only during the day. Well, those building your pre-order list. So now I'm having to go back and rebuild my pre-order people, and I'm having to catch those people. And I had to spend more money on advertising to let them know, hey, the book is out. Oh, and then Amazon ended up releasing it 2 days early. And then the audio just got uploaded like a couple of days ago, which you really want to release your audio and your paperback and your now hardcover too, and your Kindle or your digital copies all at the same time, because most eyes are on the book. And so you're going to get more revenue from that. And so it was like the worst launch. The book still did well. I'm still in the profit zone. However, when you look at the expense it goes into now for me now versus when I started making a book, my editors are better. I have several layers of editors. I have copy editors. I have proof editors. I buy exclusive photos, which I used to use stock photos. I have more expensive cover designers. So I have audio. So by the time I'm done with a book, I'm testing covers. I've dropped $10,000 easily, plus your translations. I want my launch to cover my German and my French translations too. I want it to cover all that, like the minute it goes live, right, with those pre-orders. So that was really sucky. And in the world, you've got fiction authors that hate Amazon, and they're considered wide, so they have their books everywhere digitally. And then you have your KU, your Kindle Unlimited authors, which I am, which for me would be suicide to leave. But everyone's like, this is why you don't, you shouldn't be with Amazon and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? Crap happens in business. It happens. You got to roll with it. And, I probably lost $15,000, but it was like, okay, like I can't do anything about it. All I can do is move forward. And part of me, the knee jerk reaction was kind of like, yeah, they're right. I should leave, but it's stupid. No, I shouldn't leave. I'm getting bonuses from Kindle Unlimited. 70-80% of my readership is Kindle Unlimited. And so, it's, you just have to, it's like any business, you have to just roll with the punches and get through it, and hope it never happens again.
I love it. I'm taking notes, by the way, on all of this, because I think it's so intriguing. So there's multiple questions that I have what I don't want to lose at some point, I want to talk through your launch process, how
Okay.
you launch a book and what you do, but let's get to that in a minute.
Okay.
Two things. One is you said you have 40,000 subscribers to your newsletter.
Mhm.
That is surprisingly low for as many books as you're selling. Is that because you started later? Talk me through that.
Sure.
Like you're getting millions of page reads. You are making 7 figures on royalties alone, which I know how hard that is. So like, was it just like an afterthought to focus on the newsletter? And
No.
tell me about that.
So really, I would say at the beginning of 2021, I had finally found the fiction world, and I don't know if this is just romance authors or all authors, I don't know. It's kind of high schoolish, and I'm very careful about who I even talk to online because it's just a lot of high school drama, and I don't have time for that. So I finally found a group of authors that were like my caliber, some of them a little higher at the time. I think we're probably all pretty even now. And we all just started helping each other. And there was one author that was specifically like, you have to build your newsletter. And they started talking about how they were doing it. And so I really got serious about it. So I had, at the beginning of 2021, I had 9,000 subs. So my subs have just been from the last almost 2 years, I would say, 30,000 of them. But I spend a lot of money on social media, on advertising. There's a whole platform to that. And there's 3 main sources we use for that. So, and this is all a part of the launch strategy. So we use Facebook ads, we use BookBub and Amazon ads right now.
Yep.
And I used to do some news. Sometimes I jump into people's paid newsletters, but I also do a lot of author swaps. And there's Facebook groups and things. TikTok is huge, although I haven't really cracked the TikTok, but I have some friends that kill it on TikTok. So there's a lot of different ways to promote, but you kind of have to find what's working for you. And so a lot of those readers are coming from social media.
Well, I want to talk about specifics of your launch strategy, and that would include the social media stuff. But that's interesting about, I guess you've built your newsletter with social media as well. Are you running direct ads to your newsletter or?
No, mine is all back matter. So at the back of my book, I write a special steamy scene, one last steamy scene, and my readers want that steamy scene. So they have to opt in. So they opt in. Yeah. And then I use, it's all a sales funnel, really what it is.
Great.
But, I use, and I do have to say this, I really believe, because I did sales funnels for a few years with coaches and consultants, and I had started doing sales funnels in my financial business. Yeah. Having that knowledge really, it helps.
Made a difference.
It just does. So it wasn't so foreign to me, like the whole sales funnel concept, but so that extra free content is but those are my readers. Like, those are people that read my books. My open rate on my newsletter is about 40% 45% mostly.
Ooh, that is high, very high.
Yeah,
very
I'm
great.
happy with it. Yeah.
Yes.
And then my click-through rate is typically 3 to 5%. So where they're actually clicking and going to wherever. So and we're always trying to get better on that, though.
How often are you emailing people?
We do it every Friday at noon. And then if there's
once a week.
But this was a release week. So Tuesday we released a book. So Tuesday, a newsletter went out, and then we do, like, every 48 hours, the people that didn't open, we resend it to them and get about another 10% that open it. So
love it. Love it. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Talk me through the launch strategy. You have a book that's coming out next year. My assumption is that you're preparing your, you're pre-selling and all of that in advance. So talk me through 5 steps, 7 steps, whatever. I'll
I don't know how many steps it is, because
let's just figure it out. I'll start ordering it myself. It's a lot.
It's a lot. So for me, I have to go backwards between what date is it going to launch? What date can I get? Because I get 15 days on Audible for pre-order, and that's it. How long do I have to give narrators? Okay. So narrators are getting it here. I'm getting it back from the proof editor here. I'm getting it back from the copy editor here. I'm getting it back from my alpha. I have alpha readers that read as I'm writing per chapter. I have a beta team that reads after editing. So I've got to go work backwards to figure out when all those deadlines
Good.
are.
Yeah.
And then I have to go, and I have a ton of different contractors I work with. You know, I have a personal assistant. I have a whole team of social media people. I've got a lot of people that now are helping me, but I have to find covers, you know, we have to find photos for covers. Then I have to, you know, I have to have my designer is scheduled in there. You know, she's a really great, I have great designers. They're all busy, right? So I've got to get on their schedules. I've got to meet all these deadlines. So meeting the deadline's the first thing, but I always at the back of the story. So I write a lot of stories that the series are typically each book is a different couple, but the plot goes throughout the whole series. And then I'm typically bringing the characters from my spinoff series into that series by the end so that the readers are dying and and they're like, they'll say on social media or they'll email me. They're like, you have to write a book about these people. So I have some side characters that I still haven't written on a couple of back series that I've got readers that are just to this day, just like, please write his story. And it's always the guy they don't care about the girls. They want to know about the guys. So I'm doing that as I'm writing I'm mentally like, okay, I've got to get it so that they fall in love with this character before, and they're dying to read this book. And then I always put like the blurb, which is the book description, the cover, and then the prologue into the back of the book so that they can read with the links to go pre-order and buy it.
Okay. So the previous book is leading to the new book with teaser copy in the previous book that goes to the order in advance, the pre-order. Awesome. Great. And that is how many months in advance? 3 months, 6 months?
As soon as I can put something on pre-order, I do. So I haven't put my whole next series. So I have February and March is going to be my next release because I release this. I'm going to take a couple months off, but so February and March are already up for pre-order. And then May is going to start the spinoff series I'm doing. So that book is up. I've not put the pre-orders up for the following books. But I have pre-orders up in Germany for like months in advance. I've got French that's months in advance. You know, if I can, Audible's different for the audio. I have to have it submitted, and then I have to submit at least 30 days ahead of time. And then they only allow you to have 15 days for pre-order, which kind of sucks. But it is what it is. So,
So,
and then we have ads. So ads are a big part.
So getting closer now to the launch, we're getting closer.
Sometimes I will do an ad retargeting my audience with a sneak peek. So it might be like chapters 1 through 3. Okay. Where they're able to download. And then of course it's leading right to the buy, you know, to the go pre-order your copy or whatever. And if I do that, I typically do it a week to 10 days ahead of time. You pay more money for that. However, for the beginning of a series, it makes sense because my model is all based on read through typically, which is kind of interesting that I just did a standalone and I'm doing a duet now, which I've never done, which doesn't have a lot of read through because there's not a lot, like I have a 10 book series and, you know, I make bank on, and plus it's a really popular series for me. So I make bank on that. And that leads into my spinoff series I just finished doing this year. And so the read through, you know, cause your ad money, for me, at least my ad money is all going to that first book. To get them into the series. So I will do those sneak peeks to get somebody into the series because if the read through is going to be long enough, and I don't care if I spend more money on that. Right. So, but I also, you know, so you've got the read through, but on release, when you're releasing a book, the month I'm releasing it, you know, we might be spending maybe up to $300 a day on ads.
Okay. Is this primarily Facebook?
Yeah. BookBub, Facebook, Amazon, but for that, for a release that first month, and then we'll start to bring that down as we start to see the drop off start to happen on the read. So, cause you'll have that big boost at the beginning but I don't.
Are you able to track?
Target. I'm not, unless it's book 1, I'm only retargeting my people and I'm not going to cold traffic. So if it's book 1, I'll spend way more and I'll go to cold traffic.
Okay. So 300 a day on ads is primarily your
No,
audience.
just on that book. That's just on that book.
Yeah, right. On one book. We're just
That's
talking
just on that new
we're
book.
talking launch on one book right now.
Yeah, I got ads running all the time to my book ones.
Clearly.
Yeah.
So we're just talking one book, but those $300 a day on ads is for one book, and that's to your warm audience that is retargeting traffic. Okay.
Yes.
And then how much would you spend on cold traffic during the launch for that brand new book?
I wouldn't unless it's book one and there's so right now I released a book yesterday and it's a standalone. It's not part of a series, which I've never really done.
Okay.
That I'm doing just warm audience. I'm not doing,
Gotcha.
well, I'll do a little bit of cold traffic unless it starts to eat at the profit. Cause I'm not going to have, typically on series, your first book is a loss leader.
Okay.
So you're going to spend a little bit more to get people in so that you can make the money once the books are all released.
Gotcha.
So if it's, let's say I'm on book 3 or book 5 or 10 or whatever it is, I'm not going to cold traffic on the release month. On the release month for those books, I'm just doing warm traffic, and then I will move down, move that. So I inch up. I don't start at 300. I start at like maybe 100 and start to inch up at the release. And then it comes to like a peak where you can't seem to really scale as much. And then you start to come back down.
Yeah.
So, and then I'm, so then after that, after I see that that's not worth like putting money into that one, I'm at that point just cutting that off and going, but ads are always on to book one.
Right. So with a typical sales funnel, like for me, for my book, we look at cost per acquisition, not of the book, but cost per acquisition for a client, right? Is there a way that you're able to track cost per acquisition on the individual book, or is it more you're just kind of thumbnailing it, which is a little more iffy?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. So I always say that I came from an industry with a ton of transparency because it was financially regulated by the SEC and now I'm in an industry that has very little transparency. I don't have a client list from Amazon because we don't get that.
They won't give it to you. Yep.
Nope. I don't have, until about a month ago, we were not able to track Facebook. Like if I had a Facebook ad and somebody clicked on it and went to Amazon, I couldn't track whether they bought or not.
Right.
Now there's these links you can use on your ad.
I've seen that. It's brand new with Amazon.
Yeah, but this has been our experience. Okay. When I say I mean our team that's running some things for me. When we use that link, the cost per click is skyrocketing. I mean, 4 or 5 times what it would cost me. So for me, I'm like, this isn't worth it. Like and it's not like my sales are skyrocketing. You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
So for me, I went back to not tracking it and looking at it to get my cost per click back down, and it's just revenue. So what I look at is I'm looking on a daily basis. There's a whole spreadsheet we have, and the person that my ex-husband actually still runs my ads. So
that's interesting.
It is interesting. That's a whole other podcast. But anyways, we have a very good relationship. We have a son together. We co-parent very well. And he's, but he's running my ads right now, placing them. We do all the graphics and copy and everything, but he's placing the ads still. And he has to fill out a spreadsheet for me. And every day it's on what the series profit is. And then we also look at what's going into book one, and then what's actually, what was the revenue on that book. And then we can tell if things are going up or down, or because if I don't have a big profit, or if I'm not getting people into book one, I know there's going to be in a few weeks, it's going to hurt my series profitability. Right now, the other thing I did, this is interesting. So I took one of my backlist series. It was an older series that had done really well for me. And I was starting to see that it was going down, and it also was in German. So I had it in English and German. And I was realizing, like, didn't matter what we did, we couldn't seem to revive the life into it. So I actually took as you grow as an author, you learn a lot of things. And one of the things I did not do very well was really understand what writing to market was. Okay. while I did write to market, I wasn't marketing to market it. So what I did is I retitled all 6 books. I bought exclusive photos because at the time I had used, I was using photos that were from, like deposit photos or wherever. Royalty free photos. And my new designer redid everything, rebranded everything. I launched the series in audio as well, which I wasn't sure how long it would take me to recoup that. And I'm pretty happy with how things have been going with that. It's actually been kind of surprising. But by new book descriptions, new titles, new covers, now that series was grossing. It had gotten to where both in English and German were grossing maybe like $3-4 grand a month, which I was just sitting there going, what is going on? And now it's back over 14,000-15,000 a month for those.
So you 5x'd the same content, but with just a fresh coat of paint on it.
New
title, new description, new covers.
It was very to market. It was super to market. And I need to do it with the rest of my backlist, but I just haven't had the time because again, I've got to go find photos. So I'm in the process.
Who's got the time to make 500% profit?
I know, but you have to understand too, when I release a new book, then releasing it, you have to be very careful. I have to be extremely careful with my time and where I put it, because for me, writing is that new content. That is the lifeblood. Again, once I release, my income is way higher, and you can see a drop when you're not releasing. You really can. Right. And so, I have to, and again, now I'm supplementing that with my foreign translations and things like that, but I have to be very careful about my time right now. I'm trying to get it with all the different talented people that I've surrounding myself with. I'm really trying to get at that. I just manage the business and write, but there's too many things I have to do, unfortunately, that I can't seem to get out of. But you see what I'm saying? So like if I release a new book and it's going to bring in, that, let's say a new series is going to bring in $500,000 for me. Yes, it's great that I would 5 times something and work on something on my backlist.
But it's not
new
as much.
Series. And it drives in people to reading that. So yes, it needs to be done, but
I get it.
It's problems, Rob.
I get it. It's a good problem. It's a problem a lot of people would like to have. One more question on the launch stuff.
Sure.
And then, gosh, it's almost 1. We've been going for a long time. This is so intriguing to me. You mentioned Amazon ads. Talk to me about that. How do they work for you? In general, are they successful? Are you just looking to break even on your Amazon ads? Because then that gives you new readers. Talk to me about the strategy and what that looks like.
Okay. So book 1, if I break even or lose a bit, I'm okay. But if
because that feeds the entire series.
So the cover, it drives everything on Amazon ads, everything. And that's, Amazon, the problem with Amazon is I could tell Amazon to go spend $1,000 a day and it's not going to necessarily.
Right.
Or it might, or it might, right?
Yeah.
So the thing with Amazon ads is it really is all about your cover and whether they are going to put it in front of people. And again, if you have that cover that people are responding to and clicking and downloading, you'll be able to spend more money. So sometimes Amazon works how we want it to, and sometimes it doesn't, and it's the better my covers have gotten over time, the better I've been able to utilize Amazon. And the thing about Amazon, I have to say this, with Amazon, you can actually see your KU reads, how many pages have read, and you can also see if people have purchased, and you see how much they estimate the dollar amount. So, whether, you kind of know where you're at, where, again, Facebook, you don't unless you use that link, but that link wasn't success. When we tried to do it, it wasn't successful for us. So, yeah.
Margie, I love it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Big time. I can't wait to hear more as you come out and speak. Anything that maybe we didn't cover, probably a lot, but anything else that you would want to add to the conversation? And if not, then we'll just end it. And maybe people, I don't know where to send people because we don't want to give your pen name.
No.
So there's maybe nowhere to send people.
Nowhere to send people. So this is a little bit of maybe a little inspirational thing.
Tell me.
I was 40. I'm going to be 44 the day after Christmas coming up here. I was 40 when I finally figured out what I wanted to do. You know, I loved my financial business. I loved the clients, but it came to a point where it was just like, is this all there's going to be for me? Is this,
right?
You know, I'm going to be here 30 years from now, and okay, I'll have more clients and more money, but is this really everything? Right. And so it was a big deal for me to sell my firm, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And I did, you know, everything I did well at, but I wasn't really enjoying it. And so I actually started having this dream. I started having this dream, and I was telling my friend, I'm like, keep having this dream. And she's like, you need to get that down on paper. And that's how I became an author. And I wrote it, and I sent it to my twin sister. And she said, that was really good. And you need to write about this side character. And so that started, you know, me writing, okay, now I'm going to write this. And then I had 4 books by the time I, you know, finally said, it was probably about 9 months later, I had about 4 books done. And I was like, okay, I have to get serious and figure out how to actually make money at this, because if I'm going to launch this, I've got to do it. And so you learn, you know, you're never too old. I guess what I'm trying to say is you're never too old to switch gears and do something else, and to take that risk and just say, you know what, there is something else, and maybe I don't know it quite yet, but I'll figure it out. And, you know, I knew nothing. I mean, what we did was touching the surface of what this beast I have of a business now is, but it happened. I don't necessarily recommend that people, you know, work 24/7 for 7 days a week for 2.5 years, you know. However, you know, you got to put the work in, you got to figure it out. You got to really learn and constantly learn. I'm constantly learning. I don't feel like I know anything about this industry, to be honest. I mean, I really, there's so much more I could learn. And so I think if you have to realize everybody has a starting spot. And if being an author is something that you think you want to do, whether it's nonfiction or fiction, and I just released my 41st book yesterday, 2 days ago. And I will tell you, every time I'm always like, oh, I wonder if people are going to like it. And it helps because I have alpha readers and beta readers that are like, oh, no, we will, you know, they're going to love it. They're going to love it. But you're always like, okay, please don't let, you know, you're always like, okay, how do I make sure this doesn't flop? And it gets the eyes it needs and the attention in the readers, and it continues to make my readers happy. And so, but my point is, if you know, it doesn't matter how old you are, you know, you got to just do it. Like, you just do it, and you figure it out, and you put in the work, and you just try to get better. And if you do that, you'll be successful. But again, I think your program's absolutely amazing. And I wouldn't have even, for me, something that really was a really big aha going into fiction and coming from writing not one nonfiction book with you is I knew how hard it would also be to sell books, because I knew my book didn't really sell, you know, like I was a bestseller, and that first launch week we did what we needed to do, but then it's not like it was selling, but I made money from it. But I knew this way, okay, now I have a $4.99 book. And at the time, honestly, I launched with 99-cent books. I mean, I literally, the mistakes I made along the way, I will tell you, I made some crazy, really expensive mistakes that I don't even want to think about. But coming from your program and knowing what it took to be a nonfiction, you know, successful nonfiction, what that looked like. And then, okay, now I've got to really figure out how to sell books. And so, and sell books that are not based on me at all, because I went in with a pen name. You know, frankly, I was tired of putting my face out there and being social media all over the place. And I don't know. I wanted to write and not be judged, and just write what I wanted and see what happened. And I'm so glad I took a pen name. I'm really happy I took a pen name, because there's some crazy fans out there. I will say that. However, I really think that, you know, having to know how to build something when, you know, now it's not based on my reputation, you know, I got to really, you know, so there was a really good perspective coming from your program that I'm really grateful for, because I feel like if I hadn't gone through your program, one, I knew how to do some things just because of your program, but I feel like I really got to see both sides of both nonfiction and fiction.
Yeah.
And I think it really helped me accelerate in a big way quickly.
Well, I'm encouraged to hear that. Thank you for those kind words. But boy, you have done an amazing job in an industry that is really tough, selling fiction. And I've learned a lot, and I'm sure that our listeners have learned a lot too, because there's just so many pieces to this. Even for someone like you saying, I feel like I don't know anything about this industry, is like, holy cow, you're doing $1 million a year and you don't know anything. So
I don't know anything.
Yeah.
I claim to know nothing.
Very cool. So thank you, Margie, for being on.
Thank you for having me, Rob.
My great pleasure. Obviously, we're going to be in touch. I'll give you all the details to have you come speak at the event. And maybe we even have a follow-up to this down the road and talk about your mistakes, because now I'm very intrigued about all your mistakes as well. So anyway, Margie,
there's a lot.
Awesome.
There's a lot, Rob.
Congrats. Great to have you on. And
Appreciate
thank you
it.
for being a part of things.
Thank you.